About a year ago, my client John recently retired and announced he was remodeling his kitchen. He asked me to set aside $30,000 in safe investments so it would be ready when he needed it. This should not be breaking news, but retirement is supposed to be about enjoying the freedom you've worked so hard for. And big expenses can be part of the deal, but sometimes they don't go as expected. Like what happened to John. I'm making this video because over the years I've heard so many stories about costs that were underestimated and ended up really changing retirement plans, and not for the better. Hi, I'm Daryl Rosen, a fiduciary investment advisor and sad Chicago Bears fan. My goal here is to share lessons from my journey and to help you with yours. If you're here, it's probably because we want the same things in life, to be happy in retirement. Let's make that happen together. So my goal in this video is to share 6 retirement costs my clients never saw coming and how to handle them. The first, of course, being the dreaded home renovation. Now back to John. At first, the plan seemed very simple, but then one problem led to another. A ton of unexpected issues, and before long, $30,000 turned into $70,000. What started as an upgrade to the countertops and cabinets ended with fixing walls, an unexpected roof repair, and even some landscaping so he and his wife could enjoy the view from their new kitchen. Does this sort of thing sound familiar? Housing expenses like this can get out of hand quickly. It's your home, so it feels worth it. But aside from healthcare, it may be the easiest way to put money directly in the toilet. If you've had a small project turn into something much bigger and, frankly, more miserable, share your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And stick around, because after we talk about the dreaded home remodel renovation scenario, I have 5 other categories where retirees often truly underestimate the associated expenses. But first, here are some home-related tips. Number 1, before renovating, think about whether moving to a retirement-friendly home is a better option. And maybe you're right now thinking, dude, are you gonna talk about downsizing again? Sort of. Renovations can be expensive and take up a lot of time, especially if your home isn't built for the long haul. Ask yourself, does climbing lots of stairs or dealing with an awkward layout sound easy as you get older? I'll answer the hard questions. It doesn't. Sometimes it's better to move to a home that fits your needs, like one with fewer stairs or a single level or close to access to stores, doctors, and other activities that you use regularly. The National Association of Realtors says downsizing or relocating is often smarter financially and practically, rather than spending big on a home that still might not work for you later. Finding the right place now can save you money and headaches down the road. It's important to make sure you compare costs and look at the price of buying and moving versus the cost of renovations. Also, to plan for the future, to consider how your needs may change, like needing better mobility or being closer to healthcare. And then get advice. Ask a realtor about your home's value and explore options for retirement-friendly homes. Number 2, for the remodeling project, set a strict budget that includes a 20% buffer for surprises. Renovations often cost more than expected because of issues like hidden damage or rising material costs. In fact, Tom Silva from This Old House, he recommends adding 20 to 30% to your budget to prepare for unexpected expenses. What you can do is to get multiple quotes to compare prices from at least, I say, 3 different contractors to get the best deal. I also want you to think about prioritizing the essentials. Focus on fixing important things like structural problems before making cosmetic changes, and also to track expenses. There are a lot of apps and spreadsheets you can use to keep an eye on spending so you don't go over your budgeted amount. And thirdly, regarding the kinds of changes you make, I'd like you to focus on upgrades that improve accessibility and resale value, like wider doorways or modern bathrooms. Making your home more accessible not only helps you as you age, but also makes it more appealing to buyers if you happen to sell the house. The National Association of Home Builders, they recommend consulting a certified aging in place specialist, or CAPS, to plan upgrades that meet your current and future needs. A few of the things you can do are to add safety features like grab bars, walk-in showers, or ramps to make your home safer and easier to use. You can update kitchens and bathrooms. These are the most important areas for both everyday use and resale value. And then get some expert advice. Again, a CAPS professional can help you design changes that are both practical and stylish. So your home is one of the biggest areas where spending can spiral out of control. So please plan carefully to avoid overspending and set yourself up for a more stress-free retirement. Now, let's move on to the next category, taxes. You might remember the Tax Act of 2017. Well, here in Illinois, many of us were hit hard by the cap on the state and local tax deduction, also known as SALT. This was a big change, and now we're hearing a lot about efforts to reduce the national deficit. Well, cutting costs is certainly one option. Higher taxes could also be part of the plan moving forward. So this brings us to our second category of expenses, tax liability. Here's what you can do. First thing is stay on top of tax laws and work with an advisor to adjust your strategy as the laws change. A good advisor can help you diversify not just your investment strategy, but also the types of accounts you use to be diversified, like taxable accounts, tax deferred, and tax-free accounts. I also want you to understand the appropriate balances. Believe it or not, there's an ideal amount of money to keep in each type of account to minimize your taxes. I help clients figure this out on an hourly or project basis, by the way. No sales pitches here, just advice. So if you're curious, feel free to reach out to see if we're the right fit. Also, maximize tax advantage accounts. Make the most of Roth accounts and health savings accounts to reduce your taxable income and save on future taxes. And finally, consider moving for tax benefits. Some retirees think about relocating to states with lower taxes. I want you to be careful. I have a lot of clients in Florida, and sometimes the dream destination is not as dreamy as it sounds. Looking at you again, Florida, with your hurricanes. The key takeaway, the less taxable income you have, the better. By reducing the money that's subject to taxes, you'll be less affected if tax rates rise or policies change in the future. So the first two areas where people underestimate expenses are home repairs and taxes. Stick with me for the final four, including a category I thought I'd never find myself in. Never. This next expense is one we all deal with, cars. A friend of mine recently tried to save some money by replacing his car's alternator himself. He watched a few videos online, bought the part, and got to work. After hours of struggling with bolts and wires, he finally got it installed, but he didn't do it quite right. A week later, the car broke down completely and ended up paying even more than if he had just taken it to the mechanic in the first place. I found this out when he called me to pick him up. What a goofball. This story is a great reminder why staying on top of car maintenance and preparing for the unexpected is so important. Many people have this sort of unrealistic expectation. They think the car will just keep running smoothly forever, but the truth is cars need regular care. Here are 3 simple ways to avoid costly surprises in this category. Number 1, stick to regular maintenance. Routine tasks like oil changes, tire rotations, and brake checks can prevent small issues from turning into big problems later on. I don't always do this, but following your car's maintenance schedule keeps it running smoothly and can help avoid unnecessary repairs. Try it. Number 2, pay attention to warning signs. Don't ignore strange noises, warning lights, or changes in how your car handles all the time. These are often early signs of a problem, and if you fix these issues quickly, you can save yourself from a much bigger expense later on down the road. No pun intended. Lastly, set aside money for repairs. Car repairs are not cheap. The average driver spends about $1,450 a year on maintenance and other fixes. Setting up a small savings fund for car-related expenses can make those unexpected costs less stressful and help you plan for the future. I found that cars are one of those hidden expenses that can catch you off guard if you're not prepared. So if you're keeping up with maintenance and watching for the warning signs that a lot of us like to ignore and saving for repairs, you probably can avoid some of the major headaches down the road. If a repair seems too complicated, trust me, based on my friend's experience, it's worth letting the pros handle it. Okay, let's talk about a tricky topic now, adult kids who need financial help. A client once said to me, my adult son hasn't launched yet. First, I wasn't sure what that meant, but it turns out supporting this adult child was costing him way more than he had planned. I realize this is not easy to talk about, and I bring it up because it happens all the time. I mean, I get it. I only just took my 29-year-old son off my cell phone plan. It's not always easy to let go, right? And yes, I am helping one of my sons who's in graduate school because I have the resources, but for many parents, it's tough to figure out when to stop helping. Do you support your kids now, or do you wait to leave it to them later? For some, it's possible. For others, it's not, and the pressure to help can be overwhelming. Here are 3 tips I've seen help my clients handle this challenge. The first thing is to set boundaries and a timeline. They let their kids know how long they'll help and what they expect before my friend Sue let her daughter know how long she would help and what she expected in terms of that daughter becoming financially independent or at least being able to move out. The other thing is focus on teaching, not giving, helping them to start budgeting and career skills instead of just handing them the money. This way, they'll be more prepared to manage life on their own. And then the other thing is to save for emergencies. One of my clients has a rule. She wouldn't help her daughter until she had saved a certain amount in her own emergency fund. It wasn't easy, but it worked, and it set her daughter up to be more productive in life. Helping your kids is great, but having a plan makes it easier for everyone. All right, let's move on to something a lot more fun, like Joey. Look, I never thought I'd have a dog. I went 54 years without one, and Jill felt the same way. We weren't raised around dogs. Then my son Josh suggested we get a dog, which really meant we should get a dog. And well, we did. And I used to see people driving their kids to school with a dog sitting on their lap, head out the window, and I would think, these people and their dogs. I may have even said it out loud a few times. Now, I'm that guy cruising around with Joey in the car. Having a dog has been the most incredible, the most fulfilling experience, and I would not trade him and this experience for anything. But wow, is he expensive. That brings us to the fifth expense that people often underestimate in retirement: pet costs. Pets can certainly add a lot of joy to your life, keep you mentally sharp, but they can also strain your budget if you're not prepared. So here are a few suggestions. The first is to get pet insurance early. If you sign up while your pet is still healthy, you're going to get lower premiums and better coverage. It can help avoid exclusions for pre-existing conditions and cut down on emergency costs. No coverage for pre-existing conditions, just like us human people. The second thing you do is create a pet savings fund. You can set aside a little money each month for routine care and emergencies. Even small contributions can make a big difference when unexpected bills pop up. And the last thing is to explore affordable care options. You could check out low-cost clinics or veterinary colleges. Many vet schools offer discounted care at their teaching hospitals where students perform procedures under professional supervision. The care may take longer, but it's usually high quality and more affordable. There's also organizations like the Humane Society and Red Rover Relief. They offer grants and subsidized care for emergencies. Animal shelters often partner with clinics or provide their own low-cost services, so they're worth exploring as well. Joey has taught me a lot. It's not just about unconditional love, but also about how to manage the costs of having a pet. With a little planning, you can take care of your little furry friend without breaking the budget. Trust me, it's worth every penny. Okay, on to our last expense category, and this is a bit embarrassing, but I love reading psychological thrillers. That's my guilty pleasure. My leisure activities are basically riding my bike, making videos, and reading. Consequently, I spend a lot of money on books. Here's a sample of the titles of my Kindle library, if you don't mind. The Doctor's Wife, The Doctor's Daughter, The Daughter's Doctor, The Doctor's Second Wife, The Second Wife's Doctor's Daughter's Doctor. All of these are actual titles of books except the last one, could you tell? The plots are very silly, and sometimes I wonder if I'm spending enough money to read the good authors. I'm probably not. Reading can be pricey, and even with my Kindle Unlimited subscription, I'm spending a lot of money, which is alarming because I haven't even retired yet. And that's sort of the point. After you retire, you're going to continue to do many of the things you did before you retired, like reading. Will you spend more on reading? Before retirement, the average household spends $101 each year on reading. Surprisingly, this is a category tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics that includes the cost of books and audiobooks, as well as devices such as a Kindle. In retirement, the average household spends $173 each year, a 73% increase. So the sixth and final expense item that people underestimate is hobbies. People don't realize how much it costs to be retired, especially when every day is considered to be the weekend. I have a client who comes from a musical family, but he hasn't had time in decades to play an instrument, so he wanted to relearn an instrument in retirement, was surprised by the cost of rentals, lessons, all the supplies. It all quickly added up, and he was really dismayed. So here are a few suggestions. The first thing is to test before you commit. Try out hobbies affordably by renting equipment or participating in free or low-cost trial classes. This lets you explore your interests without a large upfront investment. Then, I'd like you to set a budget for hobbies. An actual budget item. Allocate a specific amount for recreational activities each month or year. And tracking and limiting spending helps keeps costs manageable while still allowing room for enjoyment. I would also love you to consider joining community or online groups. Many local community centers, libraries, online platforms offer free or low-cost workshops, meetups, or resources for hobbyists. This kind of thing can reduce your expenses while also connecting you with others who share the same interests. You can also do it yourself when possible. For hobbies like crafting, cooking, gardening, consider do-it-yourself alternatives for supplies and tools. Repurposing items or sourcing secondhand material can cut costs significantly. And then leverage technology. Use apps, YouTube tutorials, online classes to learn new skills or refine old ones at little or no cost. Virtual resources often provide high quality instruction, even this one I think, without expense of private lessons. Just like you're learning about retirement expenses by watching this silly video. You get what you pay for. And if you like this video, you might like this one and this one. They're somewhere on the screen, I don't know. And thanks so much for watching.